morning, everybody. Welcome to Open Source Management with Jopper. My name is Greg Hinkle, and I'm the project lead and architect of the JBoss Operations Network product at JBoss, as well as the Jopper Open Source project. And I'm going to be talking today about how you can use Jopper to do management of your middleware, your systems, get information about monitoring, all sorts of things to basically make operations people happy, provide some information to your developers, really tie the whole thing together. We're going to be talking about what Jopper can do out of the box, and we're going to be talking about how to extend Jopper, adding new support for different types of things to manage or monitor. And we're going to go through a couple of short examples on how to write plugins for Jopper. So what is Jopper? Jopper is a platform for building systems management. It's a tool set, it's an enterprise server and agent architecture that ties together a database for storage and a set of agents for doing local management into a system that makes it really easy to add new types of monitoring into your environment, new types of configuration management, operational control, all sorts of things through an extensible plugin-based system. So you can go out and write these very small plugins or base one of your plugins on one of the plugins we have out of the box and extend it into, say, easily run scripts to be able to connect into JMX for getting information, monitoring, and gathering information, and then pulling it back into a central system where you can correlate and see overall views of how things are working. Now, the Jopper project actually comes in two forms. It comes in the Enterprise Jopper project, which is a server agent architecture. It works for multi-environment. You can install it across your entire enterprise, your testing, stage, and dev, and production, and systems, and aggregate all this information together. It also comes in the form of an embedded system that runs the exact same plugins, but it runs them locally inside of an app server for the purposes of local management to that app server. As a matter of fact, the embedded version of this toolset is actually what's going to be the new administration console in the EAP5 release later this year, and it's actually in our most recent JBoss AS 5.1 release. So you can go ahead and take a look at it. It comes out of the box. You basically just go to the admin console as normal. There's a link there, and you can actually see a brand new console. What you're going to see out of that new is sort of a cohesive system. It's going to be able to configure things and do monitoring, do some control actions that you haven't been able to previously easily do through other consoles. It's actually a full system, so when you change a data source, it's actually going to persist the changes. It's going to save it out. You can do a lot more real administration through this system. But again, that's built on the same technology that the Enterprise Joppers is built on. So when you build a plugin for Enterprise Jopper, it works in embedded and vice versa. So how does Jopper work? Overall, it's built of a set of subsystems that are based all around the inventory system. We have a collection of items that we can monitor and manage, different resources. These are the things that are provided by plugins. And then these are the other things that we can do around these systems. Monitor them, be able to configure them, be able to run operations, restart things, control, be able to flush queues, all sorts of things. And then also do content deployment, content management, and track and log events and do all sorts of alerting. So let me go briefly through the subsystems and what they basically look like to a user of Jopper as well as somebody who's trying to extend it. So the inventory system ties everything together. All the boxes in that you're managing with this system will come into the inventory. Auto discovery is a big important feature, so when you install an agent, it'll actually go out onto that box and look for everything that it understands. Based on the plugin system, it'll be able to find the operating system, network interfaces, file systems, running JBoss application servers, Apache instances, Tomcat instances, all the different things we can manage and monitor. It'll go out and discover them, figure out where they're running, what ports they're running on, so you don't have to do a lot of the tedious management you have to do with other monitoring platforms and configuration-based platforms. It'll go out and actually find what port JNP is running on, what IP address it's bound to, etc., and auto-import that into the inventory. This is just a quick screenshot. What it shows you is one example of a box that has a few different things that are running on it. You can see that we have this tree structure of these different items. You can actually drill down into these. Say I want to drill into the application server, go into the applications. I can see my EAR files, and under there I can see my WAR files. I can actually see my embedded, or my EGB3 stateless session beans or my entity beans, get all the Hibernate statistics, all this tied together in a single system. So you know, that's the inventory model, ties everything together. So get a little bit into the monitoring features. So we have really rich support for monitoring all the types of resources that we have plugins for. And again, the monitoring is very easy to extend. It's very easy to go out and write a plugin. You can actually use our existing CLI or scripting plugins to go out and run scripts to collect information as well. You can use Nagios probes and stuff like that. But you get a lot of rich capability when you do that. We have detailed metric collection. We have historical analysis of it, so we can store it for long periods of time, compress it over time so we can store it for a long time, but also you can get a lot of recent detail, and we can do baseline analysis of it, report on things when they're going out of their typical norms, and it's just a complete tied-together system. And then, of course, we have the basics of what happens when what do you do with monitoring. We've got graphing, we've got alerting systems, so you can say, tell me when the free memory is below X, or tell me when this service is down, when this web service isn't responding, response times go above some amount of a time. You can correlate all that information. As far as the next subsystem, we've got operational support. You can basically just run things. You want to restart something, you want to start or stop a web application, you want to go do information gathering. We can actually go ahead and talk to the Hibernate statistics engine and gather up a query report, give you the information about what are all the slowest queries that are running in your system, how often they're running, response times of them, etc. Number of rows collected. And this is just an example of how we can do operational support or operational execution. We can, in this case, we can actually do things like running operations across a cluster. So if I've got a whole cluster of app server instances and I want to, in this case, flush a data source, I can do that across the whole cluster. I can restart a whole cluster, stop or start a set of JBoss instances through this system, and I can choose to run them in order, all at the same time. I can schedule it for the future, all sorts of your basic operational control capabilities. For configuration capability, we have the ability to go in, again, plugin based, but look at things like data source configurations, queues and topics, all this basic configurations of that you use to set up an application in JBoss App Server. But it's really an extensible system. It can, we've got plugins in the community that can do things like Samba and OpenSSH configuration, a lot of different things. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But you can correlate all that information. It actually will do change detection as well. So it'll sit there and poll for changes, be able to bring that back in an audited fashion, do a correlation so you can see it on a timeline. Here's when the configuration changed. You can actually see that in the system. You can even alert on it. So, and this is just an example of how you can take a configuration page, a set of configuration values, and show it right in the GUI as an editable form. So I can go in and change my data source. I can deploy a new data source. I can do this across a cluster. I can see what values differ across a cluster or between environments. You get a lot of power through the cluster orientation of this. We also have event support, so we can do things like gathering information out of event log files, Log4j, out of the box, connected in through App Server. We can do things like Windows event log, syslog, etc. Again, pulling that information back, feeding it through our alert system and a correlation system. If you're having trouble with, say, null pointer exceptions in production and you need to be alerted when that happens, you can do that through here. You can say, send me an alert if I see a null pointer exception in the log file, and send it out immediately to somebody over email. And maybe if we have an out-of-memory exception, I want to send it to somebody else, and we'll do those sorts of things. So this is just an example of, in this case, Log4j, a bunch of different log messages coming out. I think in this case we're actually collecting a lot of different stuff, but you can filter it as well. And you can get in the UI a quick view of this. You can filter across these elements, do a search. You can also get a cluster view of this. So if I've got a 5-node cluster of JBoss App Server, I can gather log messages across all nodes and then see one correlated event view of all those log messages all in order.